Welcome to the Week in Italian Startup, where we discuss the latest highlights happening in the Italian tech and investment ecosystem.
All right, here we are.
Ciao, Jack.
Ciao, Nick. How's it going?
It's going well. As
Awesome.
I told you, I've been traveling all day today. To be here now with you.
Good. And business doesn't stop. Last week has been very, very interesting, very curious, a lot of very fun stuff happening. So let's dive immediately into the news. So for the listener, this is the Week in Startups, where me and Niccolo, we dive into the latest news from the past week, and then we analyze what is going on and what are the new directions. So we're available on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all the major streaming platforms. So with the marketing
you can't miss us.
Exactly. With the marketing pitch done, let's dive into the big news of the week, which is Scalapay. So let's talk about Scalapay immediately and how Tiger has been also getting involved into the Italian market. So I have comments, but
that was quick and unexpected. I was not expecting Tiger Global to come play in our garden, but it seems that there's something interesting here as well. Scalapay is a buy now, pay later startup, following suit with Klarna, a firm that are doing great things, raising a lot of money. And apparently we've got our own version that's interesting for big international investors. I read the article. I don't know whether you read the article.
Yeah,
it's interesting because this round appears to be initiated from an acquisition proposal, undisclosed. We don't know which company proposed Scalapay for an acquisition, but it seems that they didn't go through with the acquisition, but they they got on the table for an investment. And here we are discussing $155 million investment at a 700 million valuation in a Series A round.
Exactly. It's considered a Series A. So that's also something which is unheard of. I mean, not unheard of, but very, very unique, considering it's an Italian startup, so to speak. The other thing, Tiger Global has been extremely active this year. This year is the year of the tiger for sure in terms of VC. Going back to some numbers, I was kind of curious and researching a bit the strategy that Tiger Global is following. And I mean, Tiger Global, for those who don't know, it's not a traditional venture firm. They play mostly in the private equity / public market strategies. It's an extremely huge fund, and they're playing in a lot of fields. What has been interesting for 2020 was that the pace of acquisition of companies, of shares of companies, has been one of the biggest in the industry. I mean, I was checking out again some of the numbers. And from what I can tell, just in April 2020, basically the VC ecosystem raised a few billions dollars, and Tiger Global was responsible of 30% of it. So it was around 700 million just allocated from one single company, which essentially some people commenting say it's a fund in itself in a month. So that's they're really outpacing a lot of VC firms, and to some people, they think they're kind of pushing to rethink VC investments in a way that is quicker, is more efficient, is less burdensome for the founder. So let's keep an eye on Tiger and see what's happening for sure.
Yeah, exactly. I've been reading commentators saying that they're going very quick but very light. So very little due diligence, very light term sheets. They close deals in a matter of weeks, but then they don't go too deep into negotiating and performing due diligence on the startups. So I don't know. That's commentator. So it's a second hand opinion, but in order to go
I
this
heard
fast,
that. Yeah,
you need to cut some corners.
Totally. And I think that's the point of their strategy. What I was reading about is that they are trying basically to get in the best deals possible, even with an paying on top like a premium just because they come late. But they want to be fast and they want to really diversifying a ton of sector, winning companies, established companies. And some people speculate that they're gonna wrap everything up into like an ETF or some vehicle to launch on the market. Yes. So we'll see.
That's interesting. An ETF on private companies.
Yep.
With VC valuations.
Correct.
That's gonna be extremely interesting.
Exactly.
I want to say that. And I want to see what the market says about that, because I mean, that's not our bread and butter, I believe. But if you think about it, in the recent times, public markets have been much more attentive, in a sense, to valuations, to the startups, to doing due diligence. Think about WeWork.
Yes, totally.
So WeWork was turned down by the public market, who actually started laughing at the IPO proposal, with a few exceptions. I mean, GameStop, but that's another story.
It's a different story. It's a different podcast.
It's a different podcast. But it would be interesting to see whether the public market accepts such an ETF. That will be
totally
very fun.
Very interesting. Very interesting. So let's keep
I really
an eye on the
hope
tiger.
That's true. I really hope that's true, because I really
it's
want
nice to
see.
think about. It's nice to think about. I mean, what I liked about this deal is that that's another example where private equity and VC are overlapping, and this is like the perfect sort of crossing of the Venn circles, where these kind of deals are palatable for both venture capitalists, but also like private equity firms, because of the size and because of the growth of the company. So and it's a trend that has been like happening lately also, where people are starting sort of matching and doing deals together. So that's also another interesting trend. I feel.
Do we want to say something about the business model?
Yeah,
I
sure.
don't know. I'm just
absolutely.
asking because
I was curious actually. Good point. Excellent point.
I find it very interesting. I mean, that's a huge success of these startups, basically allowing people to buy something now and pay in 3 installments in 3 months. And it seems that they're changing the economics of e-commerce. I mean, higher conversion rate at the cart. Higher tickets, so that's powerful. I mean, if you think about it, it's simple. Just pay 3 installments and there.
Yeah, I mean, it's simple. It's been there for a long time. Especially, I remember years ago visiting like Latin America. There are systems in place like that with the retailers. So even if you go grocery shopping, like in Brazil, you can. Or there are like banks that they do it. On purpose, so people can pay on a delayed basis. What is the problem though? That the interest rate kills people essentially. So this is like why these new models are working really well. So zero interest, big on e-commerce. I was reading data according to which they increase about 11% of conversion rate on top of whatever your conversion rate is. And people are like a recurring customer. They're like 48% more likely to actually buy again through this system. So it's massive for an e-commerce store. What is interesting though is that how exactly they monetize. So they don't monetize on the price that you pay on goods. They monetize on a commission that they agree with the retailer. So if they sell like Decathlon goods, sports goods, they don't get anything from the business transaction. They anticipate essentially all the cost to the supplier. They allow clients to pay on a diluted basis, but they make money, I mean, from the commission agreed with the supplier. So again, another way of thinking about e-commerce for sure. I would have expected some form of fee in the midway, but no, apparently it's purely commission.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you trade speed for marginality.
Exactly.
That's not too bad. Not too bad.
Awesome. Great. Let's talk about Proptech. So I think I've heard about Kaaja before. Solving a huge problem in terms of buying a house, especially in Italy, where the paperwork is a pain in the neck. And there are a few startups working in the space of making sure that the sales of real estate is smoother. And these guys are definitely one of those people. Like 1.5 million raise both from Sensible Capital and Club degli Investitori. We mentioned Club degli Investitori before, one of the big angel clubs in Italy. And Sensible Capital, very interesting firm actually. I was doing some research. It's an advisory firm, and they really play well on real estate deals and Proptech. And I believe one of the people involved with Sensible Capital is part of Confindustria Immobiliare, which is one of the big association of real estate investors and developers in Italy. So great positioning, if you will.
Both financial and strategic type of investment. So that's interesting. And Kaaja is about auctions, as you said. Not well. I mean, in Italy we are familiar with the I don't know the English term for it, but when you fail to pay some installments of your mortgage, foreclosure.
Yes.
Thank you, Giacomo. Foreclosure. So we're familiar with foreclosure auctions. But Kaaja is not going that way. It's a traditional auction between private buyers of homes. So that's interesting take.
Absolutely. I don't know.
It's like eBay. It's the same approach as original eBay.
Exactly. I don't know, to be honest, if the auction model is what will make this fly, because I believe that there is a lot of work to be done on the paperwork optimization, which is already a huge task. But I don't know if the auction is what exactly is gonna make people click. Actually, that can be actually a barrier, I believe, because I mean, goods on eBay is what, couple of €100. Like here is 100 times bigger. So going on an auction on this, I don't know how comfortable the market is.
I have no idea, because an auction in this case makes the final price transparent to everybody, because it's exactly like eBay. The current best bid is the one displayed, so you can decide whether you can fix your price and see whether your price is the right one or it's below the market willingness to sell and or buy that place. I don't know whether transparency is a bonus or not. I expect that locally there might be markets where you will see prices go up. I don't know. Milano is a very hot market at this time.
Right now they are in Milan and Rome. Perfect starting point for sure.
This transparency might be in favor of the seller.
Yeah.
But still, I don't know. They have the data. That would be interesting to see whether they publish something in the future about average prices, average transactions costs, and stuff like that.
Awesome.
That would be quite interesting.
Very cool. Very cool. All right, new funds announcement. So here are some managers that are still working with the Eureka Ventures, SGR. They claim to be one of the first venture firms in Italy. I don't know if it's true. I don't know if Primo is older, but let's not go to that direction.
I don't know. Well, we are more or less siblings, I would say. There are older firms.
You're so diplomatic. That's good. But
in the case of Eureka, I really believe we are siblings.
So okay, cool.
Might be 1 year earlier, but or the same year. But
awesome. They've been working on. My understanding is that they've been working a lot on technology transfer before. Essentially, starting doing what has been happening in Italy since tech and university have been collaborating in launching businesses. So tech transfer was like a big trend many years ago. Now they're structuring the company as a fund, and they launched the BlackSheep as a fund that invests in marketing, technology, and advertising. So I've heard about the MarTech vertical, but the MADtech, I've never heard about it. So I was very, very curious to see that.
Well, that's the way they are positioning the firm. So a word on Eureka. Eureka was born from MADtech. I don't know whether, because I lost 1 second of your conversation. So the first fund managed by Eureka was an MADtech one. So basically focused on technology transfer.
Yeah.
MADtech was a venture between EIF and I believe Cassa Depositi and Prestiti to create 4 specific funds focused on technology transfer. But of course, Eureka is a SGR, so a company to manage funds, and they are hosting BlackSheep. BlackSheep was actually had been announced in March, I believe, this year, with no mention of who the manager would be.
Okay.
And apparently they signed a deal with Eureka to be the platform on which to lay the new fund, because it is a specific team, not the same team as the original one from Eureka.
Yeah, it's a different team. Here are the managing partners, and I like the idea of actually focusing on marketing technology driven by big data and AI. So it's very vertical for being an Italian sort of VC fund. They already are going like extremely vertical. They're open not only for Italy but Europe in general. So they are really willing to place bets across the space, which is great. So sense. I think they raised a total of 40 million right now. And again, another trend that we see happening all the time in Italy is the omnipresence of CDP venture capital and the MISE, Ministero dello Sviluppo Economico, hand helping out all the VC ecosystem. So these guys are going to be extremely diversifying Italian tech. I mean, that's awesome because they're going to push the ecosystem, but it's not a traditional path that maybe we have seen in the US or in the UK.
Oh, well, the US and UK are much more mature markets in a sense, but it's very similar to France, for example.
Yeah. Okay.
The BPE, the National Bank of France, is doing the same as CDP Venture Capital, even though with many more resources, so more money, basically. I think it's good that the state is investing, supporting national funds.
Yeah.
And they probably have supported and launched 5 or 6 or 7. So there are quite a few, as you said. There are now raised funds from CDP Venture Capital. The Primo Space from our portfolio is one, for example. So from our firm is one, for example. So good to know that we have resources that are kickstarting the system.
Yeah,
and then we will need exit. Then we will need exits. Then we will need a more mature market, a more liquid one. Blah blah blah.
Unless they wrap up everything and they do an ETF as well, like the friends from Tiger, and everybody's happy.
Don't say that out loud. I mean, CDP is a bank at the end of the day. They have everything they need to do something like that. So
totally. So maybe
that would be double
mark
amusing.
The words. Exactly. Mark our words. Awesome. All right, let's move on with some strategic moves happening last week. Starting from MiScusi. Funny that MiScusi is always considered like kind of in the startup system, even if it's not necessarily digital. But I mean, the guys are great. They are growing at one of the fastest rate for like a fresh pasta chain, both in Italy. Now they're opening in London. So it's a very great example of how Well, I believe the digital aspect is the fact that it's a chain that speaks with, to millennials and post-millennial. So the digital presence has never been like seen before in a way. So that's a bit of a stretch maybe, but it's a great company overall. So always worth mentioning.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I was wondering the other day actually while I was writing the news about other franchises that we both know. For example, Rosso Pomodoro, stuff like that. No, nobody never thought about them about startups, as you said. But apparently, franchises that are starting now, in a sense, are more startup-y in a way.
Yeah. Yeah,
they can receive venture capital, as MiScusi
totally
did.
No, think about MiScusi, think about Poker House. I mean, those are chains that, I mean, the future, sort of the new trends of foods and restoration, if you will. Very young, they speak to a very, very young crowd, and they're working out extremely well.
They move fast.
They move very fast, and investors are sensitive to this kind of plays. So for those out there looking for revive the franchise, yeah, it's working and people are investing in it. Awesome. Mm-hmm. All right. Borsa Del Credito has been rebaptized Opyn. The company specialized in lending to small and medium enterprise in Italy, and they have a very, very fast lending process. So that's what is attractive. And again, these guys are doing very good, and they just announced an expansion plan. So if you want to elaborate a little bit on this, that's awesome.
Well, with the rebranding, so Borsa Del Credito raised venture capital. Then earlier this year,
we talked about that. Yeah.
The Valsabina, a bank that both of us have heard about before.
There we go.
Acquired some shares, some 8%, I believe, of the company. And now with the rebranding, they're launching an international expansion plan in Europe in particular. And what I found extremely interesting are the current economics of that business. So, I mean, in the article, they say that in the first half of 2021, they had 6 million in revenues and 2 million euros of positive EBITDA.
It's insane.
So that's
insane.
That's great.
It's not too bad. It's not too bad.
Not too bad at all. So they are generating the resources apparently to scale internationally. And the fun fact is that when I was looking for the website for Opyn, the first one I found was an options trading platform for crypto.
Definitely not the same. Definitely
not the same. I mean, options trading, lending. So broadly speaking, maybe, but not the same.
Quite.
So if you want to sell some credit, don't start buying options.
Exactly. Not a smart move for the beginner. Very interesting though. Very interesting business model. Again, in the fintech space, trying to solve what has been basically one of the most painful points is like for a company to deal with banks and getting the loan approved. At least these guys are doing it quick. It's a yes or a no, and then you move on with your business, which is great, which is really great. Yeah. Awesome. All right, let's talk about Wallapop from Spain. So Wallapop is a second-hand goods market. I was reading that in Spain they're killing it. Essentially, they're bigger than Amazon and eBay, so it's a huge platform that has been essentially extremely active and working extremely well. In Spain, again, is incredible, and now they're expanding in Italy.
Mm-hmm. Not much to add to what you're saying. From the article, from the news, I read that they tried to enter the US market, so they tested the US market, depending on how you read it. They failed. Or I don't know how badly they failed, and they decided to retrench in Spain and then launch in a more similar market to the Spanish one.
Yeah. Interesting.
So welcome. Let's see how they compare to the other second-hand startups out there.
Who is in Italy working on something like that? I cannot think of someone else doing, especially what they're doing, because eBay is the obvious because they have so many products on Wallapop. I know, like in terms of secondhand fashion, there are a few companies working on that, but with such a broad spectrum, it's I would say it's pretty hard to find something close to that.
I don't know. There are a couple. Well, Subito comes to mind.
Sure. Okay. Sure.
And it's advertising heavily in the last few weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And there was another one which I don't remember the name right now, and I believe it was not Italian, but it was advertising heavily last year.
Okay.
But I don't remember the name. So there are probably a couple of other platforms around.
I see.
The thing that the Wallapop said they're trying is to breach the supply. So basically, they will open to the Italian market offerings that are from the Spain market.
Got it.
That they're trying to ease on the empty shop effect by bridging the two markets.
Which makes sense. It's very close
enough.
Logistically is definitely convenient as well. So definitely a good move. Awesome. All right, let's end up by talking about Exor Holding. So Exor Holding is the company of the Agnelli family, the founders of Fiat Automotive, of course. They activated years ago these Exor seeds, which is essentially their seed investment arm. And very interesting approach. So it's more, I would say, it's more of a holding / single family office approach, where they want to place bets, and they call it a permanent capital, which essentially means there is no hurry or pressure from LPs to get an exit at some point. So it's a very, very long-term and patient capital. And they have allocated in the past years, I think about 700 million on technology in general.
And that's just a fraction of what they have under management. So
totally.
Too bad. They invest globally. They haven't made many investments in Italy.
Yeah, so
probably Casavo.
Exactly. So beside the companies, the partnership, the automotive, etc., in terms of seed, Casavo is what comes to, it's one of the first one that comes to mind. A few which I know, a few I don't know, but they're really, really widespread in general, and not all of them are from Italy. So they're really well connected and well diversified in Europe and the US for sure.
Mm-hmm. But here come the news.
Yeah, exactly. So, and the news is that they essentially are involving Diego Piacentini as one of the key advisor, actually as the chairman of Exor Seeds. So that's something worth noting. Diego has been one of the basically top managers both in Amazon and in Apple for different markets, especially in the EU, and it's a very well known person in the Italian VC ecosystem. So it's a good choice for sure for them.
Yeah, he for a few years he was the digital transformation commissioner, so working directly with the Prime Minister of Italy. So he kickstarted many of the things that are going forward now in the digital market, in particular with the public administration in Italy.
Awesome.
So it's an interesting move. And from the press release, they're claiming that they chose Piacentini in particular to invest on Italian talent, not exclusively, of course, but to be more present in supporting Italian entrepreneurs and investing, hopefully, in Italian startups.
Fantastic. Awesome.
We'll see.
Right.
We'll see.
No.
In the meantime, they announced an investment in quantum machines, an Israeli quantum startup. But
by the way, exactly, this guy, they just invested in like 50 million in quantum computing in general, just because it's probably a good bet. So jokes apart, jokes aside, is a great trend. My understanding was Exor was more focused on, of course, automotive and deals related to automotive and mobility in general. But of course, this is part of their portfolio strategy. So they're one of the investors in this round for quantum machines. So Israeli startup again, like very, which tell us a lot about how they're well connected with different ecosystems. Of course, Israel is one of the biggest in the world. So yeah, well, it's awesome.
Very nice.
All right, Nicola, thank you very much for joining. A great recap of the news for the week. So this is the Week in Italian Startup. We're available on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, and Google Podcast, and we meet live every Monday at 6:30 p.m. Central European Time. So Nicola, thank you so much for joining, and I'll see you next week.
Thank you, Giacomo. Take care and have a great week.
Thank you. You too. Bye-bye.